this is Oscar Mikey and welcome back to this Granada Re-Reconquista Ironman achievement run. We're fresh off having successfully subjugated the Moroccans, and for the most part we've completed our first goal, which was the solidifying our position in Africa, having migrated from Andalusia. So we're not doing too bad, but we've got plenty of other challenges on the horizon. Namely, we're going to have to westernize very shortly, and we're going to have to take down Castile, Aragon and Portugal. And the only way we're going to be doing that, we can't really compete with them on land at the moment. We can, however, compete with them navally, and that's going to be an important theme moving forward. So we're going to focus on chipping away at the Iberian factions. For now, though, like I said, just diving straight into it, we are finishing off completing our core constructions of Morocco and fabricating a few claims on Castile for our upcoming war with them. Although, again, important to stress that I'm not too concerned about establishing a foothold in Castile just yet. We're going to hold off on that for now. I want to weaken them. I also want to make sure I westernize, because we need to do so to keep up in terms of technology. Guess we'll pick the mission, manage overextension since our cores are about to complete. We are still, unfortunately, under the Dominance of Clergy event, which now, having undertaken the decision to read up a little bit more about that, I realised that actually, unlike other events, if we were to have brought our influence back below 80%, even only temporarily by revoking some estates, that would have actually had the effect of resetting the progress on that. So that's something to remember for in the future. Alright, Mamluks gain a diplomatic casus belli against us. I'm actually fabricating a few claims in the Mamluks. That's not because I intend to launch any offensive war directed at them in the immediate future. It's more or less because if they attack me, then, well, at least I have some territory that I can possibly acquire as part of peace concessions. Hopefully they will not attack me, though. They shouldn't. We're on reasonably good terms. I believe I still have a royal marriage with them. Plus, I'm allied with the Ottomans. So I think that the days of being attacked over and over again are over. So far, I believe we've only declared 2 offensive wars. Most of the wars we fought has been Castile attacking us. So, as I mentioned in a previous video, I said, for the love of God and all that is holy, please, please do not forget to curtail the damn clergy before I go ahead and westernize. And thankfully I've remembered. I've had it etched into my memory, so we're going to suffer free stability hit. Go ahead and take it. Monarch power down the drain, but if you look at all our power projection, I'm not too concerned about us falling too far behind in terms of total monarch power we are accruing. So, we've curtailed the clergy. Next stop, Westernization. And then after that, we're going to take down Castile. So right now, I see our loyalty with respect to the states has been propelled back, having curtailed the clergy, so that's useful for us. We are at our, I see, about to hit our military monarch power cap, so I'm going to try and boost my influence with all the estates so that when I go to the interactions I can gain the 100 monarch power. In addition to that, I think I'll spend some military monarch power on boosting the military development level into Field. That will have the effect of allowing us to boost the production even more so and get as much income from that gold producing province as we can. Yes, I am aware that if you go over 9 development, that you increase the chance of gold mines depleting. With that said, I mean, we need money. We still do have a couple loans left over, and I'm going to focus very shortly on rebuilding my fleet, my Moroccan navy, to a point where it can take down Castile and Castile's and Portugal's navy. Like I said, we can't compete with them on land. We can at sea. That's partly because of the AI's preference for building basically worthless ships, like too many transports. We aren't burdened with that. So we know to build lots and lots of galleys. And if we do that, we can inflict some serious damage in the Iberian factions. So I'm just assigning estates. I'm just boosting all my influence with the estates up above 50%. See here. Yeah, above 50%, so we get 100 administrative power. And again, don't want to acquire the military power just yet. We'll do that after we've raised our development a little more. There we go. Don't want to spend it in technology because paradoxically, the way Westernization works is that actually you want to fall further behind in tech. That allows you to Westernize quicker. It also means you save your monarch power for when you do Westernize, when you get major bonuses to how expensive technology is. Counterintuitive, but that's the way the system is. Alright, look at that. Almost 6 ducats per month in gold income. Enclave of Infidels. Ah yes, now here's the point. Always a good idea having a trade efficiency advisor and a yearly inflation reduction advisor, because if you have the two coupled up, as many of the more experienced Europa Universalis 4 players will know, you have the chance of procuring the event Radical Reforms, which can give you 200 bonus administrative and diplomatic monarch power, which is phenomenal. Downside is you have to fire both advisors to procure it, but that's easily worth 400 monarch power. One of the strongest decisions you can actually get. Yep, we're doing not too bad. 1492. Just under 50 years, and we've got our claims fabricated in Castile. Under 50 years, and we're looking fairly strong at the moment. Not invincible, not by any means, but I see Castile still encumbered with the rather onerous Enrique, which has a grand total of 0 stats in the monarch categories. Yep, things are looking fairly good for us. About to hit the military monarch power cap again. Again, I don't want to waste any monarch power on military technology now, when in the future we're going to have huge discounts after we Westernize. We're about to complete our final core in Morocco. Agadir, there we go. Yeah, now's probably as good a time as ever to Westernize. We've got good reserves of diplomatic and military monarch power. Burned down a bit more of my military power by hiring a general. Unfortunately, he's got sort of abysmal stats, but we'll take them, not like we have a choice. And we get slightly reduced stability costs as a result of having clergy over 60% loyalty, so it's painful, but we need to raise the stability to at least 0, and then we can go ahead and Westernize. Alright, just paused the game there for a few seconds, got briefly sidetracked. We were just about to Westernize. I'm going to hold off on that for a moment. Let's see. I mentioned earlier that it was around about time to start constructing that fleet that we're going to use to Mamluks has announced Granada's arrival. Okay, well, so much for my perhaps naive hope that the Mamluks didn't have designs on our country. With that said, we are still allied with the Ottomans, so I think that the likelihood of them attacking us is still relatively nominal. at this point in time. At least if they do, they're going to lose. They're not going to be able to defeat Granada and the Ottomans. But that is important to note, that we might be extra careful to ensure that we keep a reasonably large size army. So I'm starting galley construction. It's time for our next war. It's so soon after our first war, our last war I should say, but we really need to start getting into high gear here and wearing down the Iberian nations, Castile, Portugal and Aragon. They're the major threat. Threat's not going to come from the east, I've already decided that. We can't compete with them in land, like I keep saying. However, we can certainly defeat their fleet, and if we can defeat their fleet, we can occupy their islands off the coast of Africa. And we can enforce 100% embargo of their home provinces. And that is the first bit of good news I've really seen throughout this run. Castile is currently in I believe that's a defensive war against seemingly Austria and Milan. Now, I'm not sure if we can capitalize on that. Like I said, our army is still woefully bad. It's poor army tactics, poor army morale. We're just out-teched and outgunned in almost every aspect. But if Castile's currently fighting Austria and Milan, given the fact that when we do declare war on either Castile or Portugal, we're going to have to contend with both of those nations, I still don't think, regardless of what happens to Castile's current war, we're going to be able to take them on. I mean, we're going to need... How will we launch amphibious landings into Iberia? We have no foothold there already, so we can't ferry troops over there and then declare war. In addition to that, we have a marginal amount of transport ships, so that really excludes the possibility of fighting any sort of offensive action against Castile. We are going to bring the war back to Spanish territory, but we have to wait and try and chip away at Castile and Portugal first. So in the meantime, let's build galleys. Lots and lots of galleys. My new favourite unit in Europa Universalis for woeful in the late game, but in the early game just such a strong, well-valued and underrated ship. You can go far with galleys. If you're building lots of galleys, you're doing something right. Remember I was telling you about the chance to procure the event Radical Reforms by having a trader and a master flint? Well, I wasn't lying. Here we go, perfect time. I actually only took, I think, a year. So I will not forget that we are close to the cap of our monarch power, and I'll make sure that we burn down 100 diplomatic monarch power before we go ahead and accept this decision. Because if I don't, I'm just going to be wasting monarch power, and I've done this before, as you can probably tell. I've had radical reforms, and I've been on the close to the cap with technology power, and I've just wasted hundreds of monarch power. But not today. We're not making this mistake. Today we learn a lesson. So rather than waste monarch power and useless technology, I mean, we are going to westernize after all, we'll fire it into development. That should bring us well below the cap. Yeah, 400 monarch power, and what could be the best single event that has a chance of firing in the game? Yeah, so Castile has concluded its war with Austria and Milan, and as I was more or less expecting, nothing really came of it. We're not really sure if they had to surrender anything in terms of war reparations. Just taking a look to see their army size. Now their army, they only have 11,000 troops. That may seem relatively diminutive. I mean, we have far more, but remember, those are some tough troops. And don't underestimate Castile's economy. They have a gold mine just like us. Not to mention they have Portugal, which I don't think was affected with that war. So, taking that into consideration, I will probably continue with the early emphasis, which is focus on crushing Castile and Portugal's navy, occupying their islands off the coast of Africa, and if we do that, we're going to be able to acquire war reparations, get those islands as part of our own territory, and, you know, just enhance our overall standing and reduce theirs relative to our own. So that's going to be the goal here. Chip away at them at first. And once we've done that, later on, after having westernized, we'll take the battle to Castile in righteous retribution for them having declared so many wars on us. Growth of the administration. Well, we could do with shedding a bit of Emir influence. Mind you, reduced monthly autonomy is incredibly good. I will place a premium on that, certainly. Don't really need improved diplomatic relations. I mean, what's the point having a temporary boost in diplomatic relations? All it means that in 10 years we're going to have to go back down below our level. Monthly autonomy reduction is too good to forego, so that's the choice I chose to accept. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Low autonomy is always fantastic. More and more galleys. If we're going to have any chance of defeating the combined navies of Castile and Portugal, we're going to have to both totally overwhelm them and, number two, fight them in the Mediterranean, ensure we get all the combat modifiers from fighting in inland seas. That's going to be the goal here. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. Heavy ships murder galleys in non-coastal waters. It's actually pretty ridiculous. Recruit an Admiral, since we're again closing in on the diplomatic monarch power cap. Remembering to boost development in provinces that both have dry lands, so there's not a too large penalty in improving development, whilst having our loyalty over 60% with Merchants Guild, and doing it in provinces that have trade goods with already high market value, like spices, for instance, 3 ducats worth. I think we'll go ahead and start hiring advisors again. We did have to sack those advisors to get the radical reforms. And we'll replace them with significantly weaker, but nonetheless complementary advisors. And about 40% of our, maybe 30% of our overall income is derived from that single gold producing province. That's why conquering it early on was so important. That's really going to give us the resources we need to build such a large fleet, with the view of humbling Castile, Portugal and Aragon. Hire a diplomatic reputation advisor. And a last land force limits advisor. 3 of the least desirable advisors, but they're all I can get, and I don't really want to opt for level 2 advisors. They're pretty expensive. Tunis will join us in an offensive war, and that is handy. So Aragon's not going to be a first target because that's going to call in England, and if there's one faction we cannot deal with, that's England, given the amount of heavy ships they're sure to call upon. So we will not declare our first war against Aragon. It looks like it's going to be an attack in Castile. They'll only call in Portugal and Brittany, Brittany's going to be a walkover, so it's really just Portuguese and Castile we're going to have to deal with. And that's fine. It's fine so long as we have a lot of galleys. Can never go wrong with galleys. There's one thing I've learned: if you're playing a faction that cares at all about the sea, and you're in an inland area like the Mediterranean, and galleys are your friend. I think galleys are only really relevant in Mediterranean and maybe Baltic. Not as good in the Baltic because it's not as vital to protect that area, but certainly the Mediterranean's where to build galleys. Pick a mission, improve prestige, although I've yet to actually be able to boost my prestige above 50. With that said, if we fight Castile and Portugal and we win well, we may be able to do it. Also, very important to point out that we are pushing our total naval force limits way over our cap. Let's see, so our total naval force limits are 20, we currently have 40 ships. Which is pushing the cost of producing galleys way, way up, but this is just what you have to do. We still got more galleys to go, so approaching our diplomatic monarch power cap again. That's why I'm thinking about Westernizing. Timing of this Westernization is very important because obviously one of the worst events that can fire whilst Westernizing is, I think it's reactionary rebels. It's either reactionary rebels or noble rebels. Can't quite remember which one, but they're both bad, so don't underestimate the threat of having reactionary rebels rise up whilst you're at war. Marshal up my forces in my capital, Tlemcen. Aha! This is it. I've never seen this before. Saeed al-Hurra. Saeed al-Hurra. Admiral Saeed al-Hurra becomes available for duty. We don't need a level 2 advisor, even if it's 50% reduced cost. And we have the potential for getting... We already have an Admiral. I just acquired one for 50 diplomatic power, but navigator, don't really need a navigator, do we? So oh wow, that is really, really good. 4 shock, 4 fire, 4 maneuver from a free admiral. Hey, and not bad timing too. We're just about to declare war and we got, man, that's phenomenal. That's actually really, really lucky. Not bad. It's about goddamn time I got some good things happening to me. I've been attacked by so many factions, fought so many defensive wars. And then we had that goddamn clergy problem, but that's phenomenal. Not complaining about that. We're literally about to declare war. We've got 46 ships where our focus is going to be a naval strategy, and we got a 444 admiral. Probably not essential. It's probably just going to be overkill, but, you know, we'll take it. Reminds me of my Scotland game I did where I got a general in the first year from the decision where, not the decision, but the event where you get a general for 100 army tradition, and he had 5 fire and 6 shock. I kid you not. That game was a total walkover. Not used to good things happening, but they are today. Going for the trade efficiency advisor. Also, having a trade efficiency advisor has the chance of firing an event that increases your mercantilism by 2, which is pretty strong. Also, another point to underscore: if you have good admirals and good generals, don't leave them in command of your armies or navies, because they have double the chance of them dying whilst they're in active control of an army or a fleet. That's why you should only have your admirals when you're actually using them. Alright folks, it is a bit of a cliffhanger, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here, so the next episode, it's going to be pure conflict with Portugal and Castile. So as always, thanks for watching. You won't have to wait long for the next episode, and I'll see you soon.